before rivers knew to flow, before time dared to split day from night, there was silence, not peace, not calm, but a vast, unending void, so deep that even darkness was a stranger. And within that silence, something began to breathe, not yet named, not yet known, like a breath before birth, pain before light. From that breath, from that first trembling, she came, not goddess, not woman, not star, but the first tenderness that does not destroy, and the first strength that does not draw a blade. Her name was Isis, and with her, a song was born, one with no words, yet already carrying everything that mortal hearts would one day feel. She was not made to rule. She was not cast to conquer. She came to hold, to heal, to be. And though the world had not yet learned love, she already was that love. Long before the sun chose a direction to rise, before the names of gods were etched into stone, the heart of the world pulsed with a song. It was not heard with ears. It moved like blood beneath the earth. It flowed through wind, through stars, through still waters, until she came, the one who carried the song within herself. Her name was Isis, not light and not shadow, not throne and not servant. She was the fingers that touched the soul and left no mark, only change. When she stepped down from her celestial path, the land bloomed without seed. Rivers forgot their banks. Even Ra, the great sun, lowered his gaze, for he could not tell whether her eyes held light or an abyss. Isis did not forge swords. She did not build temples. She whispered to the grass, and it grew lush. She spoke to the waters, and they sang. She touched dreams, and they bloomed with hope. But no power walks without loneliness, and those who prayed to her did not know her. For in her lived not only love, but emptiness, a longing not to be worshipped, but to be understood, to be seen. She watched Osiris and set coral over thrones. She saw Ra falter in the shadow of his own light. She saw Nephthys bury her love in silence, and Horus grow with a heart that had never known a mother's hand. And in the heart of Isis, a desire began to take shape, not to remain part of the balance, but to become what might save it. And on the night when the first nameless star fell from the sky, she stepped out from the temple, cast off her golden veils, and walked barefoot upon the earth. She no longer wished to guard only from above, for only when gods walk closer to the living can the true path begin. After Isis stepped down from her temple, the earth trembled not from fear, but from wonder. For the first time, a great goddess walked not above the grass, but upon it. She was no longer just a symbol. She was presence. In the faces of mortals, she searched for something, not worship, but recognition. The old bowed their heads. Women hushed their songs. But the children, they simply watched, not knowing why their hearts longed to follow her. Flowers bloomed in the sand beneath her bare feet. In the air, the scent of cinnamon, blood, and spring. And even those who prayed to other gods began to dream with her eyes. But even she could not walk in solitude forever. On the day when the sun hung still at its peak, as if unsure where to go, Isis met him, not a king, not a warrior, not a prophet, but a man who did not flinch from her gaze, nor try to name her soul. His name was Adamu, and yet his name meant nothing, for Isis did not hear it. She heard his silence. He did not kneel, did not offer gifts. He simply said, "You do not look lonely, but you breathe like one who has no one to share the air with." And in that moment, something inside her stirred, as if, for the first time, someone spoke not to her power, but to what lay beneath it, her spirit. He was mortal. He was fragile. His eyes held no centuries. But Isis saw in him something the gods had long forgotten, truth. And instead of turning away, she sat beside him. And between them, there was no thunder, no divine fire, only silence that, for the first time, did not hurt. Days like dreams lost their borders. How much time passed since their meeting, even Isis could not tell. For with Adamu, time was not measured by stars, but by glances that lingered longer than eternity allowed. He was a potter. He shaped clay as she shaped souls. He formed vessels. She held space. In his home, there were no columns, no incense burned. But there, she felt something she had not known for eons, that one could be cherished without being worshipped. When he laughed, the sky grew warmer. When he was silent, her thoughts became deeper. And in that simplicity, something long forgotten awakened, a magic not of thunder or command, but of presence. When he touched her hand, the world did not tremble, but her blood remembered something, older than the gods. One evening, as the moon hung low above his roof, Adamu said, "I know who you are. I am no fool. But if you can be mine not as a goddess, but as a woman, then I can be yours not as a worshipper, but as a man." Isis did not answer with words. She leaned close and their foreheads touched. No fire fell from the sky. But that night, a new kind of magic stirred in the world, the kind even gods had never seen. From his hands, clay vessels took shapes that warmed to the touch. In hers, herbs grew that healed not wounds but memory. They laughed, they wept, they loved, not as goddess and mortal, but as two beings who found one another despite fate. But in the sky, something had already cracked. For nothing true remains hidden for long, and those who watched from above now knew this love would either become a miracle or a reckoning. Their love did not remain a secret, for even if lips stay silent, the heart of the world never does. Birds flew differently, flowers bloomed out of season, seasons blurred in dreams. Isis and Adamu did not notice at first. They laughed, built their days from simple things, a clay bowl, water from the well, quiet that felt like home. But above, Ra's eyes had begun to blaze. He watched from the heights and saw not a goddess, but a breach in divine order. In the halls of light where no shadow dared to linger, he summoned the gods, those ancient and those forgotten. They came to judge her, who dared to defy her place. She abandoned her throne, said one. She gave her heart to a mortal, said another. She forgets who she is, whispered Nephthys, though her eyes held sorrow, not scorn. Are was silent for a long while. Then he spoke. Love is power, but power without limits becomes a threat. And if she teaches mortals to touch the magic of gods, they will burn. That very night, Isis woke from a dream, where the sky shattered like glass. Adamu lay beside her, breathing slowly, and she brushed his cheek, as if it were the last time, though she did not yet know why. But the air had changed. Her magic trembled in her hands. She heard the whisper of the herbs. The water in the bowl was still, too still. And then came the sign. A bird that never lands, landed on her hand, and died without a sound. Isis knew the world had begun to reject her love, because it was too strong, because in it was something that even the gods feared. And now all she could do was protect Adamu, even if that meant giving away pieces of herself. Isis knew the world would not leave them in peace. When the gods turn their eyes toward you, it is not mercy, it is judgment. Adamu felt no threat. He still touched her, as a woman, not as a goddess. And that was the danger. She did not tell him the truth. She simply began to prepare, quietly, secretly, in the shadows of magic. Even the oldest priests had forgotten. She descended to the root of the world, a place where every sound was a question, and every silence an answer. There were no temples there, no laws, only the word, the one never meant to be spoken aloud. An elder magic that grants only through taking. Not gold, not blood, but memory, love, soul. Isis whispered the name, known to only 3 beings in all of creation, and the ground trembled beneath her. She was asking, take fear from him, take death, take time. I will carry it upon myself. And the world agreed, but never without a price. When she returned, Adamu no longer dreamed of fear. His hands grew warmer, his breath deeper, his laughter lighter. But Isis forgot a word, just one, small, insignificant, then another, then the name of a flower she had always known. She did not yet understand. The price was already being collected. That night, she wept on his shoulder, and he asked, "What are you losing?" She said, "Something you must never know." How could she say, "I am saving you by forgetting myself"? And far above, the first crack of lightning slid across the sky. Ra leaned closer, because what Isis had awakened now stirred not only the world, but the very threads that bound it. What was buried at the root of the world never stays hidden. Ancient magic, like a crack in the foundation, trembles through the hole. Ra woke from a sleep without dreams. His body burned. The fire on his brow was not light, but fury. "She went further than we allowed," he said to Nephthys. "She offered pieces of her soul to shield a mortal." "She loves," Nephthys replied, "as we once did. But love must not reshape the nature of being." Ra thundered and stars fell. And then he did what he had not done since the dawn of ages. He descended. That day, the sky was not clouded, but silenced. Isis felt it. Something irreversible had begun. She took Adamu's hand. "If they come, do not speak. Do not look them in the eyes. Do not argue." "Why?" His voice was calm, but there was a fracture in it. "Because you are the most precious thing I have ever held, and the most dangerous." When Ra arrived, the earth burst with gold. No grass remained. Even the air turned solid, like shattered glass. "Isis," he said, "you have broken balance. You awoke what should have never stirred. You made a mortal part of eternity." "I made him mine," she replied, "and I do not regret it." Ra looked at Adamu. He stood quietly, but there was no fear in his eyes, only love. Ra raised his hand. "If he remains, he will undo everything." "Then undo me," Isis said. "You cannot be destroyed." Ra answered, "You are a pillar of the world. But we can take what you love." And before she could scream, time broke. Adamu vanished, not into death, not into void, but into a place with no name, place with no echo, no memory, no her, and the world remained. The sky did not fall. Order was preserved, but in the heart of Isis, there now lived an empty throne, and from it no one would ever rise again. After Adamu vanished, the world went on breathing. Rivers flowed, stars climbed the sky, children were born and died, as if nothing had changed. But for Isis, everything had changed. It wasn't just a man who was gone. It was a piece of her soul, ripped, unrecoverable, and sacred. But she did not collapse. She did not scream. She did not curse the gods. She simply grew still. And in that stillness, a decision took form, to walk where even Ra dared not look. She would go to the place between life and death, beyond time, where the forgotten drift, those not truly dead, but lost beyond memory. Isis gathered blood from grass, sand from dreams, salt from weeping eyes, and with it, she spun a key to the realm without name. She stepped into the void, where there was no sky, no stars, no direction, only voices, soft, cracked, yearning, voices trying to remember what they once were. She searched among them. "Adamu," she whispered. His name echoed like a ripple on glass. She saw hints of his face, in every flicker, every shadow, but none responded. None breathed him. She fell, rose again, wept without tears, summoned magic, but received only silence. Still, she did not stop. Her love was not a plea. It was a will. And then, in the place where even thoughts were afraid to form, she felt it, a breath, thin, hesitant, but living. She paused, knelt, and did not speak a spell, but a memory. "You shaped clay into bowls that never held water, but always held my heart." The shadow stirred. Eyes opened, and in them, him. "You found me," he whispered. "I never stopped searching," she replied. "I only walked longer." They stood together, she who had passed through silence and shadow, he who looked at her with eyes that remembered love, even in a place where memory was forbidden. "You are alive," she said softly, "and I want to bring you back." Adamu looked at her, warmth in his gaze, but fear as well. "You saved me," he said, "but that's not the same as returning." She leaned close to his ear. "I don't ask the world, I offer myself. I will give all I have left, for you to live again." And she did what no goddess had ever done. She offered not her power, but her soul. In the hollow between worlds, where the old magic still whispered, she called it forth, not by command, but by sacrifice. The silence around her deepened. The threads of her spirit began to loosen, not as death, but as exchange. "Take from me what remains," she said to the void. "Take my name, take my song, take my place in the heavens, but give him breath, give him light." And the void listened. The moment Adamu stepped into the stream of life, his eyes brightened, his chest rose, his hands trembled, real again, warm again, human again. But behind him, Isis faltered. A glow spilled from her chest, soft, gentle, and irreversible. She gave no scream, no cry, only a whisper, "Don't," as her shape faded into wind, light, and song. Adamu awoke. In the world above, he breathed, he moved, he lived, but something in him would never stop searching for what had vanished to bring him back. Time passed. The world she saved blossomed. Fields ripened. Days flowed gently, and Adamu's laughter returned, though it never rang quite the same. Her sacrifice rippled outward, not as thunder, but as memory. Isis was gone, yet never truly, because true love does not vanish. It settles into the quiet, into the blood, into the soil. No temple was built in her name, no monument carved, but she remained. In other ways, when a mother whispered to her child in the dark, Isis listened. When one person loved another without condition, she breathed between them. When a heart broke but kept on beating, it did so with a rhythm she left behind. In the sky, her name was no longer spoken, but her song, unwritten, wordless, was still sung. And Adamu, he remembered nothing clearly. No face, no name, no divine spark. But when he worked clay, his hands carved a shape he didn't understand. A bowl, always the same, marked with half a sun, and a drop cradled in two open palms. He did not know why, but something in him ached when he finished each one. And sometimes, just before sleep, he would feel warmth on his shoulder, not touch, but something older than touch. He never said her name, but in his quietest breaths, it echoed, just beneath forgetting. When the final star dipped below the sand, Isis knew she had not been destroyed. She was no longer flesh, no longer voice, no longer memory. She had become a pulse, the rhythm behind all things, the hush before a kiss, the ache behind a lullaby. She was no longer seen, but felt. Ra bowed his head. Before the silence she left behind. Even Set, the breaker, the storm, lowered his blade, for even chaos must kneel before a love that gives all and asks nothing. Adamu lived. He aged. His days unfolded gently, and though he could not name her, his heart remembered a warmth that nothing in the world could match. When he died, his final breath left not as a gasp, but as a note, a soundless sigh that returned to the winds, where she still listened, and the world moved on. New gods rose, old prayers faded, but something remained. When someone stayed, when it was easier to walk away, they said, "That is Isis in you." When someone gave, without needing to be thanked, they whispered, "That is Isis in your soul." And those who walk the deserts alone, if they are very still, and the night is soft, they hear her, not with ears, but with what still listens. After the heart breaks, she did not die. She did not ascend. She became the love that saves quietly and asks for nothing in return. Centuries passed, temples crumbled, sands swallowed names, and even the gods became echoes, but something remained. When a mother hushes her child in the dark, Isis listens. When someone loves without asking for anything, she breathes there. When a soul breaks, but still chooses to hope, that hope wears her shadow. No one sees her. No one prays to her as they once did. But in every gentle hand, every brave silence, every fierce kindness, she lives. Isis did not die. She did not vanish. She became the quiet rhythm of all things still worth saving. Not a goddess, not a myth, but the shape of love that never leaves, even when forgotten. And those who listen to the desert wind, when the stars are still, may hear not words, but something deeper, not memory, not magic, but the presence of someone who gave everything and became the soul of the world.